Very few people walking the planet can say that they have been to every single Super Bowl ever played. And my next guest is one of them. Steve Sabol, the president of NFL Films, joining us right here. Thanks so much for joining us, Steve.
Rich, it's great to be here. I watch you all the time from our studio in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. And I always like, I feel like I should be saying, thanks, Rich.
Right.
And here's my best shot. And actually, now we're here together.
And it's, you know what? And honestly, I know that one of these touching NFL Network moments, not a day goes by since this network has been launched that I haven't said, thank God for this man and his 100 million feet of footage. I mean, it's so funny. I get transfixed watching NFL films, and so many people do as well. I find myself watching 60-minute shows on the butt slap. And I'm 40 minutes in, I'm like, basically the premise of this show is a man slapping another man on the behind. And it's great. It's truly remarkable stuff, Steve.
Well, you've been to NFL Films. You've walked in that vault. You've seen the 100 million feet of film, and we've just scratched the surface for it.
And now you're part of a television network. How's that adjustment been for you guys?
It's been great. You know, when we first had that first meeting in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, and Steve Bornstein had assembled that staff, and right then I knew this was going to work because it was the chemistry was there, the people were all talented, and my expectations were very high. But I really have to say that they've been exceeded in the work that you've done, in the work that all your staff has done, the opportunity that we've had to do the game of the week to me, which is, it's invigorated me personally to go back, and that's the way we started. Back in the 60s, when we used to have Jack Whitaker and Brookshire and Summerall and come in, and we'd have to do the show overnight, and the opportunity to do that again, it just takes us right back to our roots.
What would your dad say about the TV network?
Well, he watches it all the time. You know, he keeps telling me, he says, you know, why don't you dress like Rich Eisen? You look like a schlump. You got the damn sneakers. You know, you got to wear a sport jacket. You look terrible. But I said, well, Rich is he's a professional. I'm just a filmmaker. Right. So I don't have, the pressure's not on for me to look good. The films have to look good.
Right.
But he watches all the time, and he's 89 years old. Now, I don't know whether is that in your demographic? I don't know.
Everybody's in the demographic. As long as he has DirecTV and calls his local cable operator. If he doesn't, then that's fine. Everybody's in our demographic. But I'm so thrilled that he's out there watching and what you're doing, and what does it mean to you that you've been to all 38 Super Bowls? I mean, I'm not even going to go say how has it changed, because it's not even.
Well, you know, I think I can answer that, Rich. And the way it's changed because of free agency and parity, that the Super Bowl maybe 10 years ago was a celebration of greatness on the field. It was the dynasties, the 49ers, the Cowboys, the Bills were always there. To me, now the Super Bowl is an example of organizational excellence for a season or two. It's the ability of the coaches and the GMs to assemble a team quickly through the free agency, the draft, and then bring it to, it's like a Victor Frankenstein, to go around the country, get an arm here, a leg here, put it together, put the shocks on it, bring it to life. But instead of doing it in 3 years, which was the accepted, now you got to do it in 2.
Is Delhomme the best story?
He's a Kurt Warner
of this Super Bowl.
Well, I think that Delhomme is the most anonymous quarterback to play in the Super Bowl since David Woodley in 1983 with the Dolphins. But he's a great story. But there are a lot of great stories. The Panthers team is a great story. The Patriots, the second longest single season winning streak in history.
Right.
If they win on Sunday, you're going to have to look at the achievement of this team as one of the greatest seasonal achievements in history.
And a lot of people, I would say, would be surprised to hear that, though, because of the fact that they say there's not enough star quality or star names.
But the stars are the team. That's the thing. And it's sort of it's the Ed McMahon Super Bowl. There are no big stars, but that's what football's about. It's about teamwork.
All right, Steve. Now we could be talking to you for about 2 hours. I mean, for all the stuff that you've been through, and I went around to some of our staff and put together a list of some, I guess, rapid fire.
Oh, I'm bad at that.
No.
Rapid fire.
All right, well then
I can't even get the bullets in the chamber at this point.
How about fire?
Rapid
fire.
All right,
then fire. Then we're going to fire away.
I got a musket here.
Okay.
Maybe it'll go off a few times.
Smartest player you've ever sat down with or met in the NFL history. Smartest.
The smartest player might have been Fran Tarkenton. Very, very interesting player. Had a great sense of the broad picture. I mean, everybody thinks of him as a scrambler and sort of an improviser, but he was very, very intelligent. I think he stands out, and Bud Grant is, well, he's a coach.
Right.
So that's
well, you could just put smartest person, I guess. You could go with
Bill Walsh.
Okay. Smartest person, Bill Walsh.
Yeah.
Dirtiest player.
Billy Ray Smith used to put atomic bomb, on his fingers. And the first play, now Billy Ray played for the Colts. First play of the scrimmage line, he'd go right into your face, and everybody would be playing him, would be like this. Bob Brown had a thing where he would unscrew the corners of his face mask, and this was when the head slap was legal.
Was legal, yeah.
So Deacon or somebody would come up with the head slap and go right into the screws of Bob Brown.
That's
and
putting
Bob Brown
to somebody right there.
Yeah.
Ugliest player.
Larry Zonka. The man's nose is so bent that he has to breathe through his ears. If you ever take a look at him.
Oh man! All right, prettiest player. The flip side.
Oh,
we're
boy,
all secure.
Not now, but probably in his heyday. Paul Hornung, the Golden Boy. I would think. Well, of course, pretty is handsome.
Handsomest, I guess. Okay.
Handsome is
best name.
Steve Stonebreaker, linebacker for the Colts, the Vikings, and the Saints.
Biggest character.
The biggest character, Joe Don Looney.
Why?
I remember going up to Connecticut when he was with the Giants, and he was one of the first of the players that was into astrology and had to sleep facing the magnetic north. And outside of the Fairfield University dorm, there was a graveyard. And he would go out at night and lay on the graveyards because the beds were too soft, and he felt that by laying on the concrete and facing a certain direction. Yeah, Allie Sherman has got some great stories about that. Of course, Joe Don lasted about 1 year, and then they shipped him out.
He hit the graveyard.
Yeah.
Right from there. Best venue you've ever shot in? You've ever shot film
Kansas
yourself?
City.
Okay.
I mean, you just show up to the stadium and you smell the burgers, and the whole stadium is all the background is all red. When one of the great achievements I think for an executive has been Carl Peterson, because for so many years after they won the Super Bowl, they never could fill a stadium. So every time there was a great pass play, when our cameraman followed the ball up in the air, you'd follow the ball, and then the stadium would be empty.
Right.
And one of Pete Rozell's cardinal rules to me was you never show an empty stadium. So we had all these great shots of the ball, and a lot of times the passes were complete, but you'd see the ball go up and empty stands.
Right.
So when Carl took over the Chiefs, I said, Carl, you got to fill that upper deck, and he did. And now that's the best place to shoot.
Worst weather you've ever shot a game in?
Well, I was at the Ice Bowl. I was at the 81 championship, the Browns and the Raiders that was called. The worst weather was the 1962 championship game in Yankee Stadium. That was before they had the wind chill. It was cold. And you talk to Bart Starr and Jimmy Taylor, Ray Nitschke would tell you that was worse than the Ice Bowl because of the wind. I was standing out in the field, and in the warm-ups, Y.A. Tittle came out and warming up with Del Schaffner and Frank Gifford. And the first pass that Y.A. throws, the wind just takes it right into the stands. And you could see in his eyes, he knew that game, that day against the Packers, he wasn't going to play a factor in it, and he didn't. And they won. And that was the game. If you look at our films, they didn't have heaters in those days, and they had like trash baskets. And they filled the trash baskets up with programs and stuff and rags, and they actually built fires. And if we can get the footage to you quick enough, and we can get back to Mount Laurel, New Jersey, that would be a great little B-roll to show. I'm talking about the players holding their hands over the fire.
Unbelievable. Person that you had to bleep out the most?
Marv Levy.
No way.
Marv Levy with a Harvard degree.
What?
But yeah, you over officious jerk.
Yeah.
You should have heard what preceded that and what followed that. Marv. It sounded like, when we mic'd him, it sounded like a piece of heavy equipment backing up. It'd be beep, 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 beep the whole time.
Are you kidding me?
But, in between the bleeps, there was always, an over officious, or there was a feckless official, or his vocabulary was great. But for some reason, when the game started, all the F-bombs started to fly.
Speaking of great vocabulary, I have to hear your best Howard Cosell story. What would that be? The Cosell stuff that you guys do for NFL films, I watch that from start to finish anytime I see it.
What an interesting personality he was. And I spent a whole 6 months with him. But two quick stories about Howard. One, Jim Marshall's going into, hopefully will go into the Hall of Fame. And I remember Howard introducing him at a Monday Night Football, talking about Jim had the incredible streak of 282 consecutive games. He's a Lou Gehrig of pro football. And Howard was saying how he was impressed by the continuity of his physical presence.
Continuity
of it. The other one
presence.
was, it's a little longer, but
Go for it.
After Super Bowl VII, my dad and I were leaving the game, and we got in a cab with Howard Cosell. This was before limos came to, and on the cab back to the Beverly Hills where we were staying, Howard just took off on me about, Sable, you're wasting your time making films about football. Who cares about football? You should be using your talent to make films that's socially relevant, they're about important people, and make some contribution to society with your talent, because this football, you're wasting your time. And I said, well, Howard, what do you think we should do? He said, you should make a film about me. And that's what we did. We went out, and I followed him through the Foreman-Frazier fight, through a whole 6 months. I had to get his laundry, but he was really a very, very interesting person. And the original title of it, when it went on the air, was Howard Cosell at Large and Getting Larger. But Roone Arledge didn't like it. We had to change it, so it was Howard Cosell, what is he really like? And it's still it was one of the most interesting experiences I've ever had.
Last question, your favorite director?
Claude Lelouch. He was the director that directed A Man and a Woman, and had such an impression on me as a filmmaker, because there's a sequence in there, Rich, where he shows a man and a woman falling in love. They're at a table.
Right.
And there's no dialogue, and it's just music and camera movement. And when I saw this was 1964, 65, I felt, if you could show something as complex as a man and a woman falling in love and have no dialogue, we should be the same. We should be able to do the same thing with football. To be able to convey the emotion and the passion of the sport without any script, without any sound, with just music and pictures.
I thought you'd go Scorsese on me or something like that.
No, well, John Ford I like.
Okay.
Love the old westerns.
Sure.
Duel in the Sun. That's a David O. Selznick, where Gregory Peck and Jennifer Jones are crawling up the mountain in the blood. And that was another influence. I said, all those tight shots of the hands and the blood coming out of Gregory Peck's face. And that was another influence I felt on me, is that why don't we show football like that with telephoto lenses?
Duel in the Sun sounds like something John Facenda would say. Duel in the Sun. Steve, what a pleasure. I mean, I could keep going on and on and on and on, even though we got a 2-hour show here. So basically, you're just going to have to come out to L.A. to our set out there.
It won't be hard to twist my arm to do that.
We got to get you out to Los Angeles, and thank you for, it goes NFL Total Access, and then you come right on.
Well, it's been a great season, and all of us in New Jersey have really enjoyed watching.
And likewise from Los Angeles. Steve Sable, thanks so much for joining us right here on NFL Total Access. The master filmsman of the National Football League joining us right here on NFL Total Access. We will be right back.